now we have come to the part that was completely foreign to me. This is a new technique I've never used before, and it's called photo dropping. And we're gonna drop a photo in here and use, and actually do this several times during the piece. You're gonna see me drop a photo in for the eye. I'm gonna use grass to get the hair texture, and I'm going to use actual leaves to come down here, my little sketches of leaves. For the bodice of her outfit, I'm actually going to drop in leaf texture and then come back and shade on top. So what we're going to do right now though is take a look at the eye. And again, this was so different, but I love it. I'm going to use it even more. So I tuck my daughter and put her in front of a window, took a picture of her, made sure I had the same pose and the same lighting. And now I'm just gonna lift her eye and put it right into the piece. So the first thing you're gonna do is I'm gonna come up here to, I call it the little ribbon tool. It's gonna allow me to lasso the part of her that I want. I'm just gonna come all the way around here. We're gonna erase some of this and we're gonna do a lot to it. And then I come to the little arrow next to it and move it out of that. And I'm gonna come to my eraser, make sure I have the hard eraser. I'm gonna erase this off. Now, if you have Photoshop, you can go over to a picture, lasso what you want, and drop it right into your piece. We can't do that. If we can do that, I'm unaware of it in Procreate. So this is a way that you can do it. I'm gonna come back into that layer, hit that little N, and I'm gonna reduce the opacity so I can kind of see through it. Then I'm gonna come back up here to the little moving tool. I'm gonna move it up here, put it right over her eye. I'm gonna reduce it down and move it up. I'm gonna change the angle. And I'm going to actually, let me zoom in so you can see that a little better. I'm going to increase that opacity just a bit. I do apologize if you are hearing road noise. We live near a school, and I believe that is school traffic you are currently hearing. So let me move it in here. I'm trying to line up her lid line with the lid line that I've drawn, and I kind of cheated a little bit when I drew this picture. I already had my daughter to stand and pose for me, so I had her eye as a reference, and I just used that as for a reference. That's why it's fitting in here so well. That's because I used her as a reference. So I think I'll make it a little bit bigger. I think I went down a little too far. Put that in there. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to turn up the opacity. Now the color is totally off and we have some extra things we don't need. So I'm going to go to my eraser and I'm going to go to a soft blend eraser. I want that soft eraser, and I'm going to turn down the size, and I'm going to come in, because you can see this was part of the background. Let me turn that down a little more. This is part of the background from the photo. I don't want that, so let's get rid of that. And then I'm gonna turn this up and turn the opacity down just a bit. Turn the size up a bit. I'm gonna go around the edge and kind of erase what I don't need. I'm gonna go in as close as I can to her eye, leave her eyelashes, leave all the features we need. We're gonna kind of mesh this in with everything else. So we don't want to lose the whole thing. I don't want to go straight down to the eyeball. I'm going to keep some of her skin, but I'm going to get rid of stuff that I don't need. So we're just working it. And I did, in the video, you'll see one part where I come back and I actually lasso this eyebrow. And I'm going to angle it a little bit, bring it down a little bit, make it a little bit shorter, and then I come back to my eraser and I get rid of some of it because it was just longer than what I wanted for this particular piece. So let me zoom in again. I'm getting rid of the rough edges. And you can color back over the top of things later to kind of mesh in those edges, but you'll see how that's kind of blending in. Now again, the colors are not quite right. So what I'm gonna do, there we go. I'm gonna bring her out there so I can see a little bit better. I'm gonna come into my magic wand and I'm gonna go to the hue and saturation, and I'm gonna change the saturation, a little more saturated. Whoops, sorry, wrong way. I'm gonna take down the brightness just a bit. You see how that's fitting into her skin? Increase the saturation a bit more. Turn down that brightness. There we go. All right, now I can come back into my blending tool, and remember I have it set up the same as my paintbrush, which is gouache. And I'm gonna turn the size down just a bit and turn the opacity up just a bit because I wanna come in here and kind of blend this into your skin. Now remember, this is a layer all into itself. So when you're blending, you're not really blending another color with it, you're blending that white background into it. So it's really fading it out. And that's what I want to do. And I want to get in here, change just a little bit. You kind of have to push all of these things. And like I said, you can really mesh it in once you get, and I'm going to go back to the eraser, turn that down just a bit in size. Come on down. There we go. Thumb's not working. All right. Erase a little bit more. It's a little bit too much white in here for me. We've got a lot of shadow in there because of the forest. And when she was modeling for me, of course, we weren't in a forest. We were actually in our dining room facing the window. And I had some indirect light on her. Come up here. I'm doing this kind of quickly for you, but you get the idea how that just kind of meshes into the whole thing. And then let me go ahead and turn, I don't think I have the opacity all the way up. There we go. There's the opacity. Come back in now that I have the opacity up, and I think I'm going to change saturation, brightness. There we go. We can change these back and forth and kind of get what fits into the piece. And there's going to be more color added. We're going to add some pinks to her and some yellows to her. And you'll see in some of the video where I come over the top and I'm actually going to be coloring on top of this. And I will zoom in on that in the time lapse and slow it down so that you can watch that process. But that gives you the idea. I did the same thing with her hair, and I did the same thing with the leaves down here on the bodice.